People, this week we've got Dominic Elton of Mayfield Records.
I'm passionate about music. There was always that desire to be involved in a full-time capacity, but it just took me like 40 years to get to that point. I literally used all of the money to buy a house, build a studio. I mean, for the first 3 months, I had no water or toilet. It was the motivation and drive to create something a bit special that kept me going. With the music, I'm passionate about supporting grassroots, local talent. With this label, we don't sign exclusive agreements at all. You know, people can come and go. But what I can do is just support their releases with my time. I've never understood when we judge people on where they're from or their culture. It doesn't make sense to me. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. It is really about supporting grassroots music, local artists, rappers, bands, singers, to get them started, really.
Alright, Dom.
Hello.
How you doing, mate?
I'm good. I'm relieved.
Yeah? Relieved.
Relieved.
Yeah.
We're now open.
Nice. It is a cool place, I must say.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm amazed. I've been driving past here for a while and I've always seen it on the corner. I'm like, I wonder what it looks like inside, and here we are.
Well, as I said earlier, I mean, that sign went up in August.
Wow, yeah.
And it was nothing like as it is now. There's always a risk that we couldn't finish. So I'd end up with a lovely sign and half a post office.
Fair.
But that's why I'm relieved, because we got there. It took twice as long as we thought, and obviously the costs incurred were the same, if not more than twice. So anyway, relieved is the word. Thankfully. And this is the live room, which was the old post office. Good. So you would have people coming in here. We didn't there wasn't the lobby before, but we had to create the room within the room to allow for the soundproofing.
Okay.
So it's a bit smaller than it was. But it's fairly sizable. We had a 10-piece band in the other night rehearsing.
Very cool. Very cool.
They enjoyed it. They're coming back.
Nice. All right, cool. So, welcome to the What's Going On show.
Thank you.
The show where we shine a light on people doing things in communities. And you've got Mayfield Music. Mayfield Records, Mayfield Music.
The legal entity is Mayfield Records Limited. But under that, you've got Mayfield Music, which is what we have on the sign out there. Now, that was a deliberate thing, because if I put Mayfield Records, we would expect people to come in and ask if we sell records.
Okay, I see.
And also, the previous post office was called Milton Market. So I wanted to go with the sort of double M thing as well, to sort of respect the original fabric of the building, if that makes sense. So Mayfield Music is probably all more encompassing. Okay. But we've got Mayfield Studio, and we also have the Mayfield Records House Band. So that's a house band which is associated with the studio. So there were a few things there. Okay. And,
we'll dive in. We'll dive in a bit. So, okay, so a little tradition we've got on this show is, instead of me giving you an introduction, I like to give it over to you. So who in the nutshell is Dominic Elton?
Wow. This was unrehearsed, by the way. I'm passionate about music. There was always that desire to be involved in a full-time capacity, but it just took me like 40 years to get to that point. And with the music, I'm passionate about supporting our local community, which is why it's great to be talking to you. Yesterday I was talking to other sort of local community projects. Nice. Really, it's about sort of working together to sort of try and make a difference, essentially. And that's what we're about: supporting grassroots, local talent.
Okay, interesting. So, just on that then, why are you focused on grassroots talent?
Well, I mean, it's very, very tricky. I mean, we do run a label. And if there was to be a breakthrough artist, that would be brilliant. But I've always been kind of motivated by the activity, you know, what I'm actually doing. If then that activity leads to sort of financial gain, then great. So I wouldn't complain, but obviously we're in Portsmouth. There's a lot of local talent. There's a lot of young artists and older artists that are creating music, and to break through is pretty next to impossible. So with this label, we don't sign kind of exclusive agreements at all. People can come and go, but what I can do is just support their releases with my time, which I don't obviously generate any income for. But it's about working with an artist with recording. They can rehearse here. We're looking at doing some live stuff. Obviously there's this label, so I can get their music on Spotify and the other streaming platforms. And if we play a part, at the beginning of their journey, if they then go on to further successes, then that's fine by me. Okay. In fact, if an artist was to be picked up by a more significant setup, I'd be like, brilliant. Because if anyone's going to track back that artist, they'll know that they release stuff with Mayfield. So yeah, it is really about supporting grassroots music, local artists, rappers, bands, singers, to get them started really.
Nice, very cool. Okay, so where did it all begin? Where did you grow up?
Well, not in Portsmouth.
Okay.
So I was born in Hempstead, that's in Hertfordshire. I was there till I was about 19. I went off to university. I actually studied biology, which is another sort of passion of mine. I did say earlier, biology for me pretty much explains everything.
Really?
Yeah.
How so? Yeah.
Well, just look at how we have life on this planet. It's photosynthesis, and the only reason there's life on this planet is the fact it's at the right distance between here and the sun for the optimum temperature to allow, plants to produce oxygen and food. That's it, as far as I'm concerned. I do have a spiritual side, but I tend to avoid religion and that kind of thing.
Interesting.
Right. Yeah.
Interesting. Fair. Okay.
Yeah.
So you did biology there.
Yeah.
So where did you go? What did you do with it?
So after I got the degree, I went into teaching.
Okay.
So I was a biology or science teacher. I taught biology up to A level, but general science up to year 11. Again, going back to what I said, I'm motivated by activity, and I thought by teaching I could change the world. But I wasn't a great teacher, I don't think. I didn't have the discipline. Yeah, I couldn't be horrible. So my lessons, would normally involve the kids running amok. And if you've got a chemistry lesson, and there are like Bunsen burners with chemicals bubbling, with kids running all over, it all came a bit too stressful. So I did have a break. Well, no, it wasn't a break from teaching, but I took myself out of the English system and went to live in South America for 2 years.
Oh wow!
Where I taught there in a school. That was actually better in terms of the teaching because the children seemed to be a bit more attentive. But that was great because I lived in Bogota.
Okay.
With its troubles and what have you, but I was playing music out there. I was playing in a band, or a couple of bands actually.
Okay.
So I mean, I'm looking at sort of late 20s.
Nice.
So I've always played music throughout all of this time, but when I was there, my then wife, we conceived our daughter Francesca. She's now got 29, and she's a mother now.
Wow.
So we had to come home. We had to come home for sort of family commitments and what have you. And Dawn's family based in North London, so that's why I lived in London for a while, and I was teaching in North London for a while. But again, it was quite an unruly setup, and I just literally handed my notice in, and without a job to go to, and a young daughter, and at that point I moved into the more corporate world, and that's in pharmaceuticals, because obviously that's again linked to my interest in certainly human biology, how we work, pharmacology, how drugs work, all of that kind of thing. So that suited what I, me going into that industry. And I was then there for about 6 years, and I worked with sort of some, new drugs that come onto market, including oncology treatments and cardiovascular drugs as well.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was great, and it was. I worked with a company called Health Go Home, where we actually set up a system whereby patients would get their chemotherapy in their home.
Yeah.
And that got me thinking about running my own business. And I was interested in the cardiac world, and I ended up starting a cardiac ultrasound business, which was called Ecotech, and that was about delivering this particular very important cardiac ultrasound scan, but in the community. Okay. So there's links again to the community, and it worked. Patients would get their scan within a couple of weeks. They would be in a place that wasn't in a hospital, so it'd be close to home, be more convenient. And we had a kind of robust system whereby if there was any significant disease, we would get them fast tracked into the hospital. So it was quite an efficient setup, and it worked. It grew and grew and grew. In fact, got to a size where I couldn't manage. Okay. HR was just me. So I ended up selling that, which was and then allowed me to be where I am today in terms of music. I literally used all of the money to buy a house, build a studio. Wow. So I kind of jumped in with 2 feet there, which I've done with this place. So we ran the studio outside Portsmouth in Drayton for 10 years. That was a home studio set up. So what I've done, I've kind of reversed that. So I've got a smaller living accommodation upstairs and a slightly bigger studio set up downstairs. But also this is a commercial entity. This was the post office. So it was a step up. We've got, obviously the big signs outside, and we're in a very prime location where the traffic, people are going by all the time. So it's definitely put us on the map a little bit more. And also we're in Southsea as well, where most of the musicians are. And I'm not sure why, but a lot of musicians don't drive. So they can walk here. That's great. Yeah. So that's how I got to where I am now. Mayfield is derived from soul singer Curtis Mayfield. Just blew my mind when I was growing up with songs like Move On Up. And the name and the brand actually preempted the studio by a couple of years. My band was called Mayfield, and then opening the studio, it kind of evolved into what is now the Mayfield Records house band, in that we're a house band. Okay. So it's not a structured band. People come and go.
Okay.
In fact, we just recruited a new guitarist yesterday who wants to get involved. But yeah, in terms of singers, we've had probably 10 plus singers involved. Wow. Yeah, and we're working on I'm really excited about a project we're working on at the moment. Actually, I've started tracking the single. It's called Too Late to Turn Back Now, but it's not. Normally I write or co-write the records, but this one is a cover from 1972, which a song I fell in love with literally about 3 or 4 months ago, and I don't know why I didn't know the record, because I've been listening to soul records since I was 15. But anyway, it featured in a film, and we're going to re-record it. Okay. We're going to really push it around the whole racial agenda, try and create a bit of harmony with the song.
Interesting. So, because there's a few things to pick apart, and we will. Okay. But just straight on there, then, what do you mean by harmony? Like, why racial harmony?
Well, I never understood how we judge people on where they're from, or their culture. It doesn't make sense to me. Obviously, growing up, just listening to soul records, I had a real affiliation for Black American soul. But yeah, I just and things are quite toxic, aren't they, at the moment? And I think there needs to be people trying to resist, some of the the stuff that, I mean, just yesterday, someone creates a post and there's a whole realm of kind of spouty hatred that seems to emanate, and I hate it. I absolutely hate it. And I think, the fact that the outside of the studio is all black and white, there's a good reason for that. Okay, and I was keen to secure that, and to take it further, we've got the checkered bit, the black and white squares, which is, I suppose, a ska related thing as well, which was another genre like soul music that includes all people really. And I think, soul music is definitely one of the most inclusive genres. I don't know if you're aware of the Northern Soul scene, but it kind of happened in the early 70s, and it's a bizarre connection with black American soul singers and Northern Soul, because it all started in northern parts of England, like, Sheffield, Manchester, Wigan, and these were white working class lads basically, and there was this connection. But of course, soul music, it does, bring in lots of different cultures, and that is reflected in the band, the house band. Absolutely.
Interesting. So, okay, taking us back then.
Yeah.
Where did your passion for music stem from?
Oh, probably my dad. That's his piano, by the way.
Yes.
It needs some repair and retuning, because obviously the journey it took from Drayton is a bit damaged. But yeah, my dad, he played piano. He actually played organ in a church. And so I've got early memories of sitting next to him, in the church while he's doing all this. And they have foot pedals as well. So I never, that's really cool. Fortunately I don't have to worry about that. But and then I remember listening to, he bought me a record, probably was about 4, and it was called Songs for Swinging Children. So it was late 60s. And I featured songs like from the Kinks, it got me straight away. So it's always been a passion. And then he, being a pianist, he got me piano lessons from about the age of 9.
Oh wow!
So I was learning piano from 9 up to about 15 when I kind of like went off the whole structure of the piano lesson and got into a band, a school band.
Okay, I see. And then you've always been with a band, or?
There was a few breaks, while I was sort of like pursuing other careers, but I've always had a keyboard close at hand. But certainly the last, the business of being in music is obviously when I opened the studio. So how the house band works, I mean, obviously I have engineers here and they need to be paid. So I have to pay for my own sessions, even though it's my studio, but that's obvious. So what I tend to do is I've always got one song on the go, which is a bit like the song we're doing at the moment.
Okay, I see.
And then I will arrange the recording sessions between other sessions. So if there's like an hour gap, I'll say, Matt, Sam, can I just get some keys down here, or can I bring in? So each song evolves probably over about 3 or 4 months.
Okay.
Just by putting them in ad hoc sessions. Now that's been ongoing for like 10 years.
Wow.
So, what happens is that, we do a single, we release it, and then we do another single, we release it. I don't really push the house band as such because, you can see that from our Spotify. I think we're about 100 monthly listeners, but that's not the important thing for me. It's the fact that I'm creating music. And soul music as well. It'd be great if there was a soul music revival.
Yeah.
People might start listening to us, but that's not the point, really, is it? It's about the actual activity and doing the sort of creating. But because there's always a song on the go, and it's a regular process, eventually when we get to about 10 or 12, I release an album. So we've actually released 5 albums now.
Wow. So
the song we're recording at the moment will go on our 6th album, which is going to be called Sublime Soul. And we've already got one song finished, which was actually another cover of the Jackson Sisters' I Believe in Miracles. And that was a very important song for me at the time because I really did need a miracle. when I moved out from the old place, and obviously started the rebuild here. So in fact, the first two singles are going to be covers, but that will be it. The rest will be original songs.
I see. Because you really did touch on there, like why you do it.
Yeah.
But did you ever think that you wanted to go big time with music?
Obviously, but I remember I secured a place at uni, and I had a year out, and I was in this band. I was working with my oldest, bestest friend, Darren. Right, Darren? And he was like, "You don't want to go to university? No, we'll make it." And I kind of thought, it's obviously, it might have been easier back then. It's certainly a lot harder now because it's just so crowded. But I kind of thought, I'm sorry, Darren. I think my dad had a word with me as well. He said, I think you need to go to university. So I did. I mean, don't get me wrong. I played at uni, and I've always played since then. But I'm kind of glad that I went down that academic path and did what I did in healthcare and what have you, because obviously it did allow me to do what I'm doing now, even though there's no money left. So I'm very pleased, relieved that we're now open and open for business, more importantly, and I can start maybe looking at some of the debt we've incurred and get back to where we were. Nice. But no, I don't really regret any of that. I loved science and I love getting involved with that, and Ecotech was just a brilliant service that we offered, and it really did make a difference to patients. It was an efficient setup, so we could pay our staff more, but we could charge the NHS less. So it was kind of a win-win, really. And when I say NHS, we only dedicated our service to the NHS. Although we were an independent provider, it was there to support the NHS, and it's a service that only an independent provider could do, because we moved the equipment and staff from one place to another, which we would cross like institutional boundaries. So the equipment would be fully utilised, like 5 days a week. Whereas if a hospital or cardiac department wanted to deliver their own community service, which I'm sure they do, they would probably only need to do 1 or 2 clinics a week. So for the equipment would be left, sat there for the rest of the week. So it's very lean, and it worked, which is why it kind of, went national. But yeah, I don't regret that, and I'm just glad now I'm doing music now.
It's a full circle, if you will.
Yeah.
I mean, okay then. So the start of Mayfield music. Yeah. So how was that? How was that when you fully, packed up, sold it, bought the studio, done everything, you sat there? What was your next step?
Well, I mean, I still had a bit of, there was reserves of cash, so I knew I didn't have to, get business straight away. I kind of create the studio initially as a sort, not a home studio, but the initial projects were my own music that I'd written and co-written, and so I just let things happen organically, and obviously people got to know about the studio, and then I'd get inquiries, and then we started to develop into a more kind of commercial entity. I did establish the actual legal entity quite early on, because I kind of had a gut feeling that's where I wanted to take it. So in terms of Company's House, I established that in October 2014. So we're now, we're 10 years, over 10 years old now as a business. But yeah, and I just let things happen sort of gradually, really. So we started to add on different services. We got some funding from the Arts Council around the lockdown period or post-lockdown, so we were able to deliver live streams. So the guys I mentioned earlier, who do the production, audio production, they do video as well. So that worked well with the live streams. Obviously, we offer the rehearsal We run music lessons from the studio, which is something I want to keep to do here, to fully kind of utilise the space. But yeah, I let it grow sort of organically. I was doing a bit of supply teaching at the time. I don't know why.
You shake your head, why?
Well, teaching is hard enough, and I take my hats off to all teachers. For me, it was always about discipline. But if you're a supply teacher going to a school, it's like, right, okay, we ain't got a proper teacher today, so we're really going to play up. So yeah, I didn't do that for too long, but by then it was okay because the studio had sort of picked up.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, and obviously it got to a point where I wanted to move into a more commercial setup. It took a while to find this place. Again, I jumped in with 2 feet. I moved into here on the 3rd of May. It was still basically the post office. I did actually post a video yesterday, which gave me palpitations, to be fair, because I hadn't seen that video. It's the one I showed you a bit earlier. I hadn't seen that video before, really, not in full. And I just thought, my word, I must have not seen any of that. A lot of people were saying, this is not going to happen, you know, and they're telling me this now.
Really, yeah.
But I mean, for the first 3 months, I had no water or toilet, you know. Yeah, don't ask. But you know, it was the motivation and drive to create something a bit special that kept me going. You know, it was only towards the end of the whole process that I really kind of had a bit of a meltdown. You know, I was quite unwell. But you know, that was early January, so I'm kind of feeling a lot more positive now. Yeah, it was hard work, but I'm glad we're here now.
Interesting. You said there that you experienced a bit of a meltdown.
Yeah.
Now, what did that entail, and how did you feel?
Okay. I mean, I have. I don't generally put stuff on social media that's really quite deep and personal, you know. And I did actually put something up. I think it would have been when I was at my, you know, most stressed. And I think while the whole bill was going on, I was always being distracted by this, that, and the other. And I felt I had to hold on to get the job done. So ironically, it was when we're literally close to opening, I had this kind of, very, very kind of acute anxiety situation. I was, you know, I actually ended up going to A&E a few times just to say, look, you know, I need some help. It was a bit frustrating because I was kind of moved from like A&E to GP to the local crisis team. All have been brilliant, but being in healthcare, it was always about kind of seamless pathways, and there are problems with the you know, the 3 parts kind of talking. So I went around in circles for a while, and my anxiety was getting worse and worse. And it basically resulted in me being in the hospital for like 3 days, without going into too much detail. But it gave me time to reflect and work out, you know, having, you know, because all this time I'm in this space, you know, I'm constantly reminded by the stresses and the pressures of what I'm trying to do. So it was actually, you know, that was all I was looking for really with the NHS service, to get some respite. And I had that with those 4 days, 3 nights up in QA. I did a little reading around how you manage your thoughts and anxiety. Amazing amount of support from, you know, friends, family, and the local music community as well. It's unbelievable. You know, they've rallied round, and they're looking to sort of, you know, put things on and you know, to support the business just over the next few months. Really, I think once we're up and running properly, and you know, we've got regular bookings, then it will be fine. The beauty of this setup is that everything is in one space, so I can control the cash flow, monitor the cash flow well. And like I said earlier, I want to use this space as much as I can. So that was those 3 days were very positive for me, and again with all the support of everybody, I'm feeling so much better, and I guess it was always inevitable that it would get to that point, and I'm just glad it happened towards the end and not halfway through, because I would have been useless in terms of getting the works finished. But my team have been amazing. They've rallied round. They've got stuff done, so it's all back on, and I'm really, really, really looking forward to this year and what we can do, what we can achieve.
Amazing. So, to someone, the reason I said that was for someone who's possibly going through that or feels like they're getting to that place, what would you tell them, or what would you tell your previous self?
Definitely reach out, talk. I've been very open about this, and I think we all need to. I mean, everybody has mental health in one way or other. I see it daily, and I do my best for those people that are suffering. And interestingly enough, obviously, when I went through what I went through, I got that reciprocated, which has been brilliant. I just think you need to talk, be open, and there are some great services. Certainly in Portsmouth, I don't know about other cities, but you've got talking therapies, you've got the crisis team, you've got the recovery hub. There are all these different sort of organisations that are there to support, and just remain hopeful, because normally the worries that trigger anxiety are kind of unfounded, and our brain reacts to a thought, not with a true perspective. So when you're in that moment, you need to step back from that thought. This is what I've been sort of working on. So how you can differentiate between what you call a trigger thought that would then lead to anxiety, but actually sit back from it and just let it pass. And this is what I'm practicing a lot now. And again, online there's a lot of support as well. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do around mindfulness, meditation. If you haven't checked it out, check out Headspace. That's a guy called Andy Puddicombe. He set that business up. He must be a multi-millionaire now. But he was a Buddhist monk back in the day, but he set up this system where you can go on and just work through meditations and mindfulness kind of routines and what have you. It's on Spotify, I think, now, but he's obviously got the website that you can subscribe to. But there's a lot there, and just surround yourself with lots of good people and positive people and lovely people. Fortunately, we've got lots of those types around here in Portsmouth.
Nice.
I hope that will make sense. But anyway.
It does. Because I remember in the beginning you said that biology is the reason behind everything, but you have a spiritual side. Is that the spiritual side, or what's the spiritual
I don't know. I mean, I've been. This is my science background, so everything is basically done by energy, really, and it may be that we don't fully understand, all aspects of energy. So energy could be equated to some kind of spirituality. I don't know, but I look at. I mentioned doing gardening with my partner Lorna, and I love it. And it's kind of a bit of a full circle there, because having studied plant science, I'm now working with plants, which is brilliant, and the variety of plants, and obviously variety of animals on this planet, is just incredible. And some of these things you think you could not create that in your life. It's just like, so I'm always fascinated by science. Obviously, everything around us is basically science, whether it's some kind of physics or chemistry or biochemistry or biology or any of the various disciplines. Obviously the technology around us, but certainly the reason why there's life on this planet is down to the right conditions to allow photosynthesis, which is why I don't understand why this need, well, not mentioning names, to explore Mars and what have you. It's so arbitrary, that manoeuvre, unless they just want to strip resources and bring them back and then damage our planet further. But it's obvious if you look up and see all the stars. A star is essentially a sun, and there'll be planets around that star, and again there'll be ones that are at the right distance from the sun to allow for the right temperature. If you go too close, it will be too hot. If you go further away, it'll be too cold. So there has to be life on other planets, but we're never going to get there. So the idea of pumping billions of pounds just to go a little bit further seems nonsensical, and that money could be much wisely spent elsewhere in helping the other problems we have on this planet. But yeah, it is arbitrary. I mean, I don't know how to explain it really. So us getting closer to Mars or whatever would be like an ant in your garden going an extra 2 inches or something. If you think of the globe as the universe, it doesn't make sense to me. But anyway, I hope that makes sense. But yeah, so biology is, or science-based reasons for life and on this earth is I mean, obviously we're one of millions and millions of different species, and they don't need religion. I mean, I've got 3 dogs out there. I mean, they live for the moment, don't they?
Yeah.
They certainly don't probably remember what happened yesterday, and they're not bothered about tomorrow. And obviously they're not needing religion. I'm quite sure the reason there's religion is because us humans know that we're going to die. We know about our mortality. Jimmy out there doesn't know he's going to die. So because we know we're going to die, we need to have a reason why we're here, and that we're not going to, we're not going to die and that's it. We must go on. There must be, must be a heaven. So that's kind of my understanding why we create religion. But it doesn't mean I'm not spiritual, and that again relates to energy. So one of the laws of physics is that energy can't be created or destroyed. It can only be changed from one form to another. I mean, that was just like GCSE physics I used to teach. And if that's the case, that energy, and there may be energies that we don't fully understand yet, that could explain, a more kind of spiritual side of things. I mean, people that I mean, there are people that are psychic, and I totally get that. They have feelings about stuff, and that may well be just another form of energy that they're tapping into. That other people can't. I don't know. I mean, obviously, no one knows.
Interesting.
But I can't believe what frustrate. All of a lot of the troubles on this planet are different religions fighting. But what I don't get is that, okay, if there is a God, it can only be the one. So why are you fighting about the same end goal? If that makes sense, does it?
Well, yeah.
So obviously the arguments that they're fighting about is more about, I suppose, their own man-made beliefs and cultures and ideologies, and obviously there's a lot of politics that kind of comes into it as well, and land issues and all sorts, which is obviously very topical at the moment with this toxic world as it stands.
Just on that, why say toxic world?
Well, I think I mentioned earlier I've come off Twitter. I don't know why I didn't do it before, and then I thought I'm the first to do this. I looked into it, and people have been in droves coming off X since obviously Elon Musk acquired the business. I would go on to. I mean, I didn't use it much anyway, because if I did a post about Mayfield, I might get one response or something. So I was thinking, what is this all about anyway? But I got to the point the other day, and I thought, literally turn it on, and there's like, there are posts from Trump and then Musk, and I'm thinking, I don't follow you guys, and I certainly don't like you, or like. So you've got these guys that they're just literally monopolising that platform with all their kind of toxic rhetoric. Basically, that's what it is. So I thought, no, I don't want to see it, and so I did a post actually. Bizarrely, well, not bizarrely, quite right. Lots of people have done this previously, so I was a bit late to the party on that one. But if you're still on X, come off it, deactivate. I've kind of switched over to, I mentioned Blue Sky. So that's been set up. And actually I didn't realise it was set up, a few years ago by one of the ex-CEOs of Twitter. So I think he's a little bit more ethically biased. And I know that he's provided a lot of money from his own income to various different sort of projects and what have you.
Interesting.
So that's where I am now. Just checked out, I've got 5 followers. But but yeah, maybe that's the way to go for a while anyway.
No, I get it. Okay then, cool. So back to Mayfield then.
Yeah.
So when someone walks through the door, what's the process?
Well, generally, they don't just walk through the door, although we have had people do that because it is a shop front. But we've learned now that we keep that door locked if there's a session, because you could have someone here recording, and then someone goes, "Hello, what's this then?" It's like, okay. So we kind of keep that locked. So any kind of session we book here is done. It's booked in advance.
Yeah.
Okay. In fact, we are working on a new website at the moment. It's taking a while, but we will have an online booking system. Certainly for rehearsal, things like podcasts or stuff like that. Debating around recording, because recording's a complex one, in that you always need to have a decent dialogue with the artist or the band before you record, because you couldn't just put, and I do see it actually on other websites, booking for one song, X pounds. It's like, well, what's one song? We could do one song in an hour if it was just a singer and acoustic guitar, but another song could take a couple of weeks if it involves like a 12-piece soul collective, like a bit like Mayfield. So I don't know how we're going to go about that one, but maybe that we use the website to prompt some dialogue and then subsequently book that band or whatever into the studio. So so it's all contact me. I kind of organise all the bookings. Rehearsals generally in the evening. That's easy. I just basically get the room set up to exactly what the band want. I don't go into charging extra for drums or a bass amp. That for me is just too complicated and too messy. The stuff's here. When you arrive, you can use it. Includes the mics and the PA and everything. So there's one price, all in. I live upstairs, so I can let them in, and I can listen to the music upstairs. Just now we've got all the soundproofing, and then I'll come down, lock up. Obviously once they've paid. But the recording, we have some brilliant engineers. We've got Matt, Brooks, Sam Carter-Brazier, Sam Holden. That's when we get the booking. I will then obviously allocate, who works with that particular band. They might have a preference. They may have spoken to one of the engineers first, and it's come that way. So in terms of the process, it's all of the above, really. So it's all done by bookings, really.
That's fair enough. And okay, so what would you say, one of the most standout things Or one of the most heartwarming things with an artist or a band when they're in or when they're finished? What's the most standout thing?
Well, I had something. You know, I hope he doesn't mind me saying that. I won't mention his name, but you know, it's not all about young people. This guy is older than me. Yes, if that's possible. And I was playing with Hannah Ream. I was playing with Hannah Ream in Chichester actually, and this guy got up and he kind of played before us, and he sang this song, which is I mean, we were all like welling up. Basically, it was about his son that had taken his own life at 26. So we got talking, and he said that, could you? I'd be keen to record this, And he said, could you do some piano? So he came in a couple of weeks ago, and wow. I mean, I spent an hour or two working out the piano before he arrived, and he was just like, he was in tears. He was saying, "Thank you. I couldn't imagine the song could sound like this, with the guitar alongside the piano accompaniment. That was just, for me, that's kind of, and that's not like, a young person. That's someone. So we reach out to all ages really, and that's kind of stuck in my mind. I think we're going to probably record it. That was more of a rehearsal for him to hear what the piano could do and how it could work with the song he's written. And we will be planning to record that soon. Yeah, nice. But that was a good reminder actually at the time, because I was really only just come out of hospital. Why I'm doing what we're doing really.
How important is it to keep on revisiting why we're doing what we're doing, or why you're doing what you're doing?
Well, I think a lot of these things happen naturally now. We're getting a bit more busy because the activity is hopefully is a regular thing. So I just love getting involved. Obviously, one of the things we can do as a studio is offer, particularly with solo artists like this guy, we can support them with their songwriting, with the recording setup. The engineers play bass and guitar, so they can provide that. I live up there, I can come down, and I've done many times, play the keys. All of that there's no extra cost on that. So you've got that kind of little kind of session musician setup that can support definitely the solo artist. Obviously, if you're a band, they all play their instruments anyway. So I mean, that really works actually. And if I'm doing that a couple of times a week, that does keep reminding me that I love music and I want to keep on doing this thing.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, coming to a nice close. So you're up and running. You're relieved. Do you have a plan ahead?
Funny enough, I'm in the process of writing a business plan, and I've got no choice really, because very kindly Portsmouth City Council invited me to attend a series of workshops. They're business growth, business boost workshops. I've done 3. We also get like a one-to-one mentoring by the course lead as well on Zoom. And next week we've all got to feedback with business plans, where we were, where we are now, and where we're going to be, say in 2 years. So I'm actually in the process of doing that. Wow. So the future really is to. There are things like key performance indicators. I don't know if you know all this stuff here, but business speak. But there are certain things that are going to be important, and that is to have this space being utilised. And this is where this is me thinking this is me thinking a couple of years or a year. This space being utilised 7 days a week, potentially between 10 and 12 hours a day. That could be a mix of recording sessions and rehearsal. And the plan would be to have advanced bookings for at least a couple of months. So that's all about cash flow really. What I want to do is basically provide a thriving kind of environment, to fully support grassroots singers, rappers, musicians, bands, right across our spectrum of services. This is actually the mission statement that I'm just reading out from memory. Right across, the spectrum of services, which includes obviously recording, rehearsal, the songwriting support, session musicians, rehearsal, video, as well as the other kind of vocal-led or spoken word-led projects like audiobooks and podcasts and the like. So we want to kind of cover it all bases really. That's where I want to be. We've got more work to do in here around the kind of overall vibe. It's still a bit clinical, which I don't like with studios. So we're going to get lots of artwork around the walls, and I think the plan is to basically put prints of local artists performing at a local festival, Victorious, in a local studio. So that is ongoing, and I put this out already to local artists. And again, if you haven't seen that message, you need to contact the photographer Steve Spurgeon, who does a lot for free, and he will have a lot of pictures of a lot of the bands performing at Victorious. And the idea is to sort of put them all around. We can't really put them up yet because we're still working on the acoustics, so there will be panels going up around here, and then once that's up, we can then put the pictures. So we're not going to do like a promotional video yet until it's all done, until it's looking, sweet as. Do you know what I mean? But hopefully that'll be done in the next maybe 2 or 3 months.
Yes.
And then we'll get some proper promo stuff out there. But I still post stuff most days about what we're doing and how we're proceeding and progressing. So yeah. So yeah, you've reminded me. I've got to get onto this business plan. Yeah.
Well, no, cool. That brings us to a lovely close then. So,
thank you.
well, no, thank you for sharing that as part of the story. That's been cool, man.
You're very welcome, Alex.
Yeah, it's been
brilliant. Cool.
It's been really good.
Thank you.
All right, I'm looking forward to see what happens next.
Yeah.
Happy
Cheap
days.
and peeled.
Welcome to part 2. Part 2 is when we go out into the public and we ask a question. And we won't tell you what the question was, you'll find out in a sec. And yeah, we'll just get your reactions to it. So if you want to pause it, you can just pause it.
Yeah.
Or we can wait until the end and then react then. Up to you. That's free row. But yeah, we'll see what they had to say.
Okay, these are people you spoke to.
Yeah.
No,
yeah,
interesting. So yeah, people I've actually spoke to stopped in the street. How bizarre. I did not know that. That's interesting. Can you see this?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Really just him.
Do we still need music studios?
Yeah, bro. 100%. Well, you mean like studios where people go and make music?
Yeah, like recording studios.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. I think I've not gone into a music studio yet, but I think I can imagine going into a music studio with like a group of people, a group of friends, making music together. That's such a vibe, and like that vibe adds to the music that you make as well. I think 100%.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's like a place where like people can like hang out and like actually make stuff they want to make.
Are music studios still needed?
Not really.
Why?
Because everyone does it like off their own back now. Like, what's the word for it? Everyone. Oh, I don't know how to explain it. You put me on the spot.
Sort of like everyone's just a self-starter. It's kind of like just does it in their bedroom, or what do you mean?
Yeah, just like everything's online, like SoundCloud, all the music apps, Spotify. Yeah, that's about it.
Are music studios still needed?
Sorry?
Do you know what a music studio is?
Yes.
You said yes. I heard a yes. What do you mean?
Isn't it just like where you make music?
It is, but couldn't you just do it from your bedroom?
Yeah, because the studio is more open.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And you can like have all like the machines. I don't know.
Are music studios outdated? Do we still need them?
I don't know. I don't think
No.
No, I think we should keep them.
Really? Why?
For, I don't know, the nostalgia.
The nostalgia. Not for people to use them, but just to keep them there for
Yeah, why not?
as a collectible. Okay, great.
Yeah, all of the above, really. it's great that technology allows people to create music in their own home, because these things cost. And people are able to create lots of music and upload it easily onto the different platforms, for sure. Obviously, there are certain things that the studio can do that you can't do from home, and it really is a bit of a step up when you walk into the studio. Obviously, for things like tracking drums and various other things, you need the studio space. I mean, we have obviously very good microphones, so that will enhance the quality. And then obviously experienced engineers that can take your song and take it to something quite amazing, to something that will exceed your expectations, that perhaps you wouldn't be able to do in the sort of like in your own sort of bedroom space, if you like. So I would say this, wouldn't I? But yeah, of course we need studios, but we obviously have to work with the times. We're even using, one of our engineers is quite keen on AI. I made it clear that AI is not about replacing music. It's about a tool that can enhance if and when required. We used a bit of it the other day for an artist, and it really did help in that situation. But yeah, like I say, all of the above. But we will create music that is I guess more of a release type quality, if that makes sense. And certainly with bands, what have you, that need to track real instruments and what have you, it's a must. Well, certainly with drums, and yeah.
I think I made myself kind of make sense there, but yeah.
Okay. Are music studios outdated? Do we still need them?
Yes, I know. I've got to really say nothing. I like my new music, I like my old music. I'm still listening to my Misfits, I'm still listening to that lot, but I'm still listening to new stuff too, you know what I mean? Like, it's still sick, don't get me wrong, it gives you somewhere to go, you know what I mean? Like, I used to perform in a band and stuff like that, so it's still sick, but yeah, each their own, innit?
See, I still think they still need to be around, because if they aren't, where are you going to find talent in music if they're not going to be around? Like, talent, like for music, it's hard to come by, but if you find it in a studio, it can be a lot easier to be found.
Or you find them in the shower.
Yeah.
So cool. Are music studios outdated? Do we need them still?
I know my mum likes them, so that's
just like where you record music.
Yeah. Can you just do it from your room?
Yeah, you can, but obviously it's easier to do it in a studio. You have all the equipment. Yeah, it's easier.
Okay, sick.
That's a really good question you've been asking people there, and that obviously they were mainly young people. So there was the thing about nostalgia, and like my mum, it's like it's not really a generational thing here. As I said earlier, it's important to have a space where people can come together, particularly if it's in a band setup, and create. You've got the engineers with their expertise, and their sort of experience they've gained over many years, and it's about collaboration as well. Which you perhaps couldn't or wouldn't get if you're just on your own in your bedroom. But obviously, the setup, in terms of the technology here is way beyond what you could perhaps have at home, and that's right across the board. Again, I would be saying all this, wouldn't I? So yes, there is still a need for recording studios, because I've just opened one. So come along or phone me, book. Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, so on that, we touched on just a second ago on AI.
Yeah.
So what is the debate there, and why should we fear it or why shouldn't you fear it? What is the situation?
I'm not an expert on this. It's only because Mac, he kind of, they're very techy, my engineering team, as you'd expect. And I'm not like that, It's some of these, I can't remember is it Suno? I can't remember, but
there were these platforms where you can literally say what you want and put in a few words and it will create a song in that style with those lyrics. It is a bit, but that's not a real. You wouldn't necessarily be able to release that because you haven't created that. That's just my understanding. But I think if you use it as a tool as and when needed, I think that's fine. Particularly if you've got a client that needs a lot of support and can only, afford maybe, a few hours. Obviously, the AI will allow you to create something far quicker as well. But I'm pretty sure that if you were to create a whole song in AI, there wouldn't be you wouldn't own that track. I'm pretty sure that you wouldn't be. I don't know, actually. I need to look into that. But yeah, and also part of the fun of creating music is creating music yourself and with other people. So in terms of the house band, it's a non-starter because we kind of write, record, and release original soul records, and that will often involve bringing in brass players, string instruments, lots of backing vocals, and for me personally, I like to be behind the creating the sort of arrangements and deciding which chords work best. And with soul music, you tend to delve into jazz chords. Which gives the sort of that sound, and I like to create and curate, if you like, those arrangements myself, really, because it's kind of what I'm feeling, what I'm seeing in my mind in terms of what I want the product to be. So we can't ignore it, obviously. A good example, actually, is obviously you mentioned LinkedIn. You can now obviously put your own words in. It'll say, AI replacement, whatever. It's like people that share memes, if that's the thing. But why share something that's not your actual own words? Because it's not authentic. And it's the same with if I do a post. I mean, I've tried to see what it will come up with, and yes, it's very articulate and very flowery, and but it's actually not my words, and I probably wouldn't use that word if it was me. Yeah, I don't know. Like I say, we can't ignore it because it's there and it's obviously going to develop further. But yeah, I guess, like I said, it's another tool that we can use if and when required. Yeah, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
Yeah.
And okay, yeah, just to sort of wrap up then. Any final comments?
Thank you for this. Didn't realise we were going to be doing lots of posts and stuff. That will help, obviously, the brand. Really, really appreciate that. And hopefully I've covered most of the things that I wanted to communicate. And yeah, if you're out there and you're a singer, songwriter, a band, a rapper, whatever, and you're looking to rehearse or certainly record, give us a shout. Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, mayfieldrecords.com, and we're all obviously on all the various different social media platforms now. Blue Sky. And not X, but I mean, I generally sort of post something. I try to most days, so you'll get a feel for the sort of vibe and what we're doing on a sort of day-to-day basis. Yeah, thank you.
No, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
I look forward to see what happens next.
Yeah,
days.
Yeah, cheers.